this take.
One take. All right. Hello. Rob here from Supermoon, and I'm with
Alex, Third Space Brewing.
Yeah, and we are really, really psyched to be here to share our beer, our little baby beer that we made with you. So glad this is finally here. I'm really proud of the beer, and we're gonna kind of get into it and taste a little bit, and share kind of our notes with you and kind of how the beer was made and why it was made. Bottles are available here at Supermoon, and we have it on draft as well. So come on in and try it out, and hope you enjoy it.
Yeah. I think the approach to this beer is cool because it is just sort of a mashup of, I think what Rob does well here, which is these old world mixed culture oak fermented beers, these beautiful delicate beers, and then the hoppy stuff that I think we're known for at Third Space. So
yeah, marrying those two kind of philosophies is always fun in the mixed culture space because hops, on the clean side are sort of what they sound like they are. There's a lot of innovation, a lot of new kind of flavors and profiles happening, and those are very truly expressed in things like IPA in concert with other hops and kind of building on each other as sort of a hop-driven recipe. But in the mixed culture side, there's some really interesting things that happen specifically with Brett that kind of bring in this kind of biotransformed version of a lot of these hops that is a much more fruit-forward component of an IPA, and then they kind of work in a slightly different way with mixed culture and oak, and their expressions are really, really cool. So I'll kind of get into the base grain structure of this, and then we'll let Alex kind of get into the hop side of things. When we do beers like this, specifically hop forward ones, we're really trying to give the hops sort of a platform to shine from, and kind of staying true to what we do with a lot of our grist here. It's driven mostly by pills. This is a blend of a couple different Pilsner malts for some really nice depth and complexity. And then we kind of beef up the backbone of it with some malted spelt. And then we kind of, in planning for a beer that will go completely dry from our mixed culture and oak here, we try and build back a little bit of that perceived mouthfeel with oats. So we've got this nice bill of mixed pills, spelt, and oats, and it comes in this really nice, like bright kind of golden light straw color, keeping things light and complex and rustic and grainy, but giving the hops a place to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of hops, we wanted to do a few more new school kind of hop methods. So we did a cooled whirlpool with this, which allowed us to use a larger charge of hops without extracting as much bitterness. We chose a few of our favorite kind of it girl hops, Motueka, wonderful like lemon lime forward hop, a little bit of Idaho 7, which in my experience always really carries a lot of character through from the hot side into the finished product, even excluding dry hop. Knowing that this was a beer that was going to spend extended amount of time fermenting in oak, we really wanted to throw that hop in there, as well as a little bit of Lotus, and especially on the dry side we used post-fermentation a lot more Motueka because we love that hop, and then some Lotus, some Sultana, and love the finished product and how this ended up after this long journey.
And something that doesn't get done too often, but I think is a super important detail in beers like this, is to kind of treat it, in certain ways from a technique standpoint, like an IPA. And we have the ability to open a large manway door on one of our oak puncheons, and we dry hop a lot of our mixed culture beers with access to them that you might not otherwise get with horizontally laid barrels with a very small space to enter with dry hops. It's pretty difficult. So the manway allows us to really kind of finish this the way we want to with a nice big dry hop charge. And let's jump into it. Cool. Yeah, there it goes.
Beautiful.
As with almost everything that you see here from Supermoon, this is a bottle-conditioned beer, naturally carbonated with champagne yeast, and this was packaged on June 8th, so it's a little over 2 months in the bottle, really settled into itself really nicely. But yeah, it builds up a really nice head of
look
foam.
at
Make
that
sure
on
you
that.
refrigerate the beer before you serve it. All bottle conditioned beer kind of is its best self if you give it about 24 hours in the fridge if you can. Try and store it upright.
Cheers, buddy.
Yeah.
Man, I can't get my nose out of that.
Yeah, it is so interesting, especially Lotus. I'm getting a lot of the Lotus on the nose. It has this like really nice kind of sort of cotton candy, like kind of dank cotton candy. It's almost like cannabis-like, and it's sort of funky and fruity all at the same time.
Yeah.
But like tropical.
Lots of like underripe kind of tropical fruit going on.
Yeah, I even get some of that coconut. It's like a coconut, almost vanilla-like.
I see that, and that classic Motueka like lemon lime in there as well.
Yeah.
There's almost like a perception of tartness just from the nose here. I'm sure a bit from the culture as well, but
Yeah, it's a funny thing. Our oak is neutral, but depending on the gravity of the beer and kind of how the beer is structured with grist, oak tends to come through on lighter beers like this. So maybe there's like a piece of that vanilla kind of thing happening. But it smells really fun and
let's
interesting.
maybe even take a drink of this, huh?
Yeah. Okay.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers. I dig it. I'm so glad we upped that amount of oats.
Yeah, it's nice and soft.
It's super soft, but it's not like there's not like a prickly dryness to this. It drinks kind of like medium bodied with like kind of a silky softness to it. Really pillowy. And I think we would have lost that. It would have leaned on the sharper side of things if we would have gone any lighter.
I agree. Despite 100% apparent attenuation, it's a very dry beer, but it doesn't present that aggressive sort of dryness. There's still a little umph there for the hops to play on and everything.
I love the interplay of some of like the like kind of underripe fruit and ripe fruit kind of characteristics.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's an interesting kind of like, I would classify sort of like a more like a starchy fruit, like a apricot kind of a thing, melon paired with this nice kind of bright, like more citrusy lime, lemon.
You get a lot of that on the back end, that lemon lime.
Yeah, and then I keep getting this like coconut thing. I think it's from the Lotus that gives it this kind of like coconut candy sort of a thing that kind of just, there's a lot going on. It's fruit, it's earth, it's...
Yeah, and I think it really marries that like, ester forward kind of fermentation profile, and then there's, that Brett phenolic funk. But I mean, man, it's definitely a fruit forward beer. Nothing seems to dominate as far as like, it's not too hoppy, it's not too funky, it's certainly not too acidic.
I think a lot of those pieces are kind of where they're supposed to be in nice harmony right now. What I love about kind of highly hopped and dry hopped mixed culture beers too is their evolution. In the bottle specifically, if you bottle condition them, the places they go are wild. And I should say, this is a non-acidic Brett fermented beer. It's not sour. It was never intended to be sour, but it is bread forward and funky and dry, so you will get some pretty gnarly evolution in the bottle if you hang on to one or two of these.
Yeah, I mean,
totally drink it fresh. It's ready.
It's definitely ready to go now. It tastes different, however, than I remember it tasting on bottling day when I came out to bottle it. And it'll be cool to see the journey it goes on. Maybe you'll just have to buy 2 bottles about it. Have one fresh and sit on one. So, yeah, man. I appreciate you making this happen with us.
Thank you for all the work on it. And it was a pleasure to design a beer and brew a beer with you guys. And I think the world of Third Space, and I just am so happy this beer is finally real.
Yeah, well, very much a mutual feeling. I think we'll cheers to that and wrap this thing up, man.
Cool. Cheers.
Cool. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, Internet. That felt good.
Yeah.